Introduction. What does the future hold, and how do you stay ahead? 5G Explained offers a clear-eyed look. We will focus on what it says about mobile and security. Stay with me, the best part is near the end. Overall summary. The main systems per 3G, 4G, and 5G mobile communication systems Co. 26. The principle of the network slicing in core network deployment. The term 5G refers to the fifth generation of mobile communication systems. 1 depicts the development of the data rates of the 3G, 4G, and 5G systems. As for the development of the security aspects, 3GPP-SA3 has produced the 5G Security Specification TS, V15. ITU has played an essential role in the development of mobile radio interface standards. Chapter 1, Network and Architecture. 1. Network functions, NF, and elements of the 3GPP 5G system. 2. The key characteristics comparison of the 4G and 5G radio interface. 3. The frequency bands and frequency ranges for the LTE as interpreted FR. 6. The key technical reports detailing 5G-specific radio frequency bands. 2. 5G NR-RAN interfaces as per 3GPP technical specifications. 2. Description of the security architecture interfaces as presented in FI. For the network functions of 5G taking part to the security procedures. 5. Key terminology related to the mobile subscription. 6. The main stakeholders for standardization of UICC evolution. 1. The principle of the downlink radio link budget. 2. The 5G network deployment's functional elements. 2. The 3G and 4G systems that comply with the ITU requirements for RESP. 1. The main phases of the IMT 2020 development by the ITU. 1. Snapshot of some of the most popular commercial mobile communication. 1. High-level snapshot of the mobile network evolution and the support. 2. The key elements of 2G, 3G, and 4G network architecture prior to 5G. 3. The high-level principle for the architecture of the LTE/EPC and 5G. 7. The principle of the 5G NG and UU user plane. 3. 11. Non-roaming 5G system architecture, presented via service-based INT. 12. Reference point presentation of the 5G system architecture for the 17. 5G core network architecture for non-roaming via non-3GPP access. 18. Non-roaming architecture for interworking between 5G system, 5G new. 20. An example of the mapping of the network slicing components of the Chapter 2, Plane and Control. 21. The principle of network slices with conceptual examples. 22. The groups A, B, and C to support multiple network slices per DEVIC. 25. The principle of 5G SSC modes as defined by 3GPP. 27. Control and user plane separation, CUPS, as defined by 3GPP. 9. For frequency time interpretation of an OFDM signal. 5. The principle of the service assurance for 5G network slicing. 6. The balancing of resiliency and security as depicted in 10. 7. The difference between legacy and virtualized networks. 19. The principle of SEP for interconnecting 3GPP networks. 27. Example of the network slice set and cloud implementation. 33. The high-level 5G user and control plane protocols. 35. The functional split of user plane and control plane in GNB-based O. 40. Control plane protocol stack for the communications between UE and 41. The 5G's user plane PDU session protocol structure. 42. Control plane for the scenario prior to the signaling IPsec SA ESTA. 44 Control plane for establishment of user plane via N3 IWF. 3 Traditional architecture of V2X based on IEEE 802.11p and other VA. 3 5G building blocks as defined by 3GPP are critical communications, c. 4 Security layers as interpreted from SIM Alliance. 10 3GPP systems security architecture as interpreted from 3GPP TS33. 11 The 5G security architecture for non-roaming scenario. 17 The high-level ecosystem for the UICC variants. 1 Evolution of the core network for the LTE/EPC, SDN, and NFV. Chapter 3 Mobile and Communications. The 5G Explained presents key aspects of the next, evolved mobile communications system after the 4G era. Regardless of the high performance of 4G systems, the telecom industry has identified a need for faster end-user data rates due to constantly increasing performance requirements of the evolving multimedia. 5G provides much faster data rates with low latency compared to the current systems up to 4G. Various mobile network operators, MNOs, and device manufacturers have been driving the technology via concrete demos and trials, which has been beneficial for the selection of optimal solutions in standardization. As soon as the first-generation mobile networks took off and the second generation proved the benefits of data communications, there was no returning to those historical days. The ongoing work on the development of the next big step in the mobile communications, the fifth generation, includes the IoT as an integral part. The concrete goal of EU is to provide mobile broadband speeds beyond 100 megabits per second. Some of the base technologies for facilitating the low energy include advanced beamforming and radio interface optimization via user data and system control plane separation. The systems also need to be developed at the component level for both networks and devices. At the same time, the need for enhanced security aspects will require innovative solutions in the hardware, HW, and software, SW, levels. The 5G is a result of a long development of mobile communications, with roots going back to the 1980s when the first-generation mobile communications networks began to be reality. Figure depicts the development of the data rates of the 3G, 4G, and 5G systems. At the same time, the exponentially growing number of the IoT devices require new security measures, including potential security breach monitoring and prevention. In addition to the traditional type of IoT devices such as wearable devices with integrated mobile communication systems, smartwatch, car communication systems, and utility meters, there are also emerging technology areas such as self-driving cars that require high reliability as for the functionality and for the secure communications, which 5G can tackle. As next-generation mobile networks, NGMN, states in 8, the 5G will address the demands and business contexts as of 2020 by enabling a fully mobile and connected society. This is achieved via a huge growth in connectivity and volume of data communications. One of the major needs is to ensure the proper security of the new 5G services and infrastructure, including protection of identity and privacy. Another aspect in the advanced 5G system is the better flexibility compared to any of the previous mobile communication generations. It is still to be seen what the consumer and M2M devices will look like physically in the 5G era, but we might see much more variety compared to any previous mobile network generations, including multiple wearable devices per user and highly advanced control and monitoring equipment. One might wonder why yet another mobile communications generation is needed. As the term indicates, the commercial systems are assumed to be ready for deployment as of 2020. 2. The 3G and 4G systems that comply with the ITU requirements for respective generations. performance requirements, evaluation criteria, and assessment methodology of new radio, 2018-2020. Chapter 4, Security and Network. As for the 3GPP specifications, 5G will affect several technology areas of radio and core networks. At the same time, the evolved core network technologies need to be revised by the system architecture teams so that they can support the increased data rates accordingly. The control plane on EPC ENB user equipment, UE, will be reused. An additional next-generation user plane is adapted on NR-GNB UE. There also is an international standard for the development of IoT including M2M communications and sensor networks, 16. P is designed for vehicle, V2V, communications. It also provides means for data abstraction, protection, security, privacy, and safety. The task of SIM Alliance is to simplify SE implementation, and it drives deployment and management of secure mobile services. It is involved in the Network 2020 paving the way for 5G. The focus is on security and privacy for the evolution of IoT and M2M. FIPS 140.13 contains security requirements. ISO/IEC 27000 is Information Security Management Framework, which is valid also for IoT security. Open Mobile Alliance, OMA, has developed Device Management, DM. OMA Lightweight M2M aims to optimize the secure communications between all, especially economic, devices. 1M2M's architecture and standards for M2M communications are designed to be applied in many different industries and take account of input and requirements from any sector. GSC is not a standards development organization and therefore will not develop standards. Next Generation Mobile Networks, NGMN, is relevant for overall advanced network technologies and for the IoT, 41. Some benefits of TCG technologies include protection of business-critical data and systems, secure authentication and protection of user identities, and the establishment of machine identity and network integrity. The workgroups are cloud, embedded systems, infrastructure, IoT, mobile, PC client, regional forums, server, software stack, storage, trusted network communications, Trusted Platform Module, TPM, and Virtualized Platform, 44. This contents thus demystifies the idea of fifth-generation mobile communications basing on the latest 5G standards and summarizes available information into a compact book form. The book focuses especially on the security aspects and on the network planning and deployment of the forthcoming 5G. It summarizes the 5G functionality with a special emphasis on the new security requirements. This chapter summarizes the technical requirements for fifth-generation 5G systems. Chapter 5, Requirements and Mobile. As is customary, ITU has taken the role of defining the mobile communications generations. As for the industry, the Next Generation Mobile Network, NGMN, Alliance represents the interests of mobile operators, device vendors, manufacturers, and research institutes. One of the main aims of the forum is to pave the way for the commercial launch of new mobile broadband networks. So, ITU is still acting as a highest authority to define the global and interoperable 5G requirements for the mobile communication systems in such a way that the requirements are agreed by all the stakeholders. ITU setting the scenery. The practical standardization work results in the ITU 5G compliant technical specifications created by mobile communications industry. The IMT 2020 has a variety of aspects from different points of view, which greatly extends the requirements compared to previous mobile communication generations. The ITU represents the highest authority in the field of defining the mobile system generations. The high-level idea of the 5G is to bring together people via a set of things, data, applications, transport systems, and cities in a smart networked communications environment. One of the elemental parts of this development has been the 5G vision of the ITU are for the Mobile Broadband Connected Society, which was agreed in 2015. These aspects include also market, traffic, and spectrum requirements for the forthcoming 5G era. The ITU IMT 2020 requirements form the foundation of the internationally recognized 5G systems. Prior to the candidate evaluation, the WP5D finalized the performance requirements 2017 and formed the evaluation criteria and methodology for the assessment of the IMT 2020 radio interface framework and overall objectives of the future development of IMT for 2020 and beyond. Requirements related to technical performance for IMT advanced radio interfaces. ITU has published the minimum 5G requirements in the document IMT 2020 Technical Performance Requirements, available at 1. In summary, the ITU's minimum radio interface requirements include the 5G performance requirements is presented in the next section. The term W representing bandwidth, ESP referring to a peak spectral efficiency, the user's peak data rate RP equals WESP. The user experienced, UX, data rate is obtained from the 5% point of the CDF, cumulative distribution function, of the overall user throughput, i.e., correctly received service data units, SDUs, of the whole data set in Layer 3 during the active data transfer. The ITU requirements for the UX data rate in downlink is 100 megabits per second, whereas it is 50 megabits per second for uplink. Fifth percentile user spectral efficiency. The fifth percentile user spectral efficiency refers to the 5% point of the CDF of the normalized user data throughput. The user plane latency refers to the time it takes for the source sending a packet in radio protocol layer 2/3 to reach its destination on the respective layer. The requirement for the user plane latency is 4 milliseconds for eMBB use case, whilst it is 1 millisecond for ultra-reliable low-latency communications, URLLCs. Closing. That is the heart of 5G explained. If it helped, a quick subscribe keeps more summaries coming. So how do mobile and security connect? That is exactly where we started. Go back to the top and watch it click into place.